Hey everyone, Cody here. And it's been a minute since I made a video. This video is going to be about writing. I actually just finished writing a 357,000 word fiction novel. I talked about my other videos, I talked about in my NovelCraft videos, but I officially just finished it about an hour ago, and I'm super stoked. This has taken me 8 months to write, but I want to clarify something. I put writing in quotations in the title of this video because yes, I did use AI to help me write this. I used a combination of NovelCrafter and Claude, mostly Sonnet 3.5 and 3.7 now, to finish this book. But I was naive, I'll be honest. Most of the writing I did, I came up with a majority of the scenes, 80 to 90% of the scenes I actually wrote out, and I wrote about that same amount of dialogue, and then actually just had NovelCrafter, through Open Router with Claude, kind of fill in the gaps of details or missing parts, or if I was kind of stuck on what they should say or, how they should go about something, I had it, kind of give me some ideas on how to do that. But I wrote most of it. I feel very confident and good about saying that because I'll be honest, when I started using AI to help me write the book, I was a little leery. At first, I didn't think I would use it at all, but I found that it was a really good tool to help me kind of describe things. If I had something in my head, but I couldn't quite say it, it was really good at helping me describe things. But I've quickly found that, in a world or, where AI is so commonplace now, especially AI content generation, a lot of companies and a lot of products and services are offering you a one-click solution on how to write a book. And I've tried a lot of these solutions. They're not very good. I've tried very cheap ones that were like $20, $30 to ones that were $100 to $250 to write an entire book. And really at the end of the day, a lot of that content is just not very good. Now, there are some tricks. If you haven't seen my NovelCrafter video, there are ways to get the AI to write decent prose. But really it comes down to writing most of it yourself and then having the AI kind of fill in the gaps. I've found is actually probably the most effective way. So I feel very good in saying that I wrote most of that book, because if I had just tried to have AI write the entire book, it would not have gone over well. And it probably wouldn't have taken me 8 months. However, all that being said, I want to kind of set a baseline of why I'm making this video. I learned basically there was 3 benefits that I gained by writing this massive novel. I had the idea for the book back at the end of June or beginning of July, somewhere in 2024. And I had this, fantasy action novel idea. And I don't want to say what it is because I'm not sure how people will perceive it, or, if I'm going to even publish it. My goal was to write it. But, I started writing it and I really was excited at the beginning of writing the book. I think a lot of us start projects very excited, and we just kind of jump all in. But one of the things I struggle with in, kind of having depression, but also ADHD is, I will start projects and then I will just not finish them. I will start a lot of projects. This is something that I deal with the painting, is that if I could not finish a painting in a day or two, I just wouldn't do it. That's one of the reasons I did abstract paintings in the first place, is because I could do one of those paintings in a day or two and I could move on to the next and the next. I just didn't really have a good attention span. But part of that is using that as a crutch, right? So I would start a project and then, get bored, or I wouldn't see the results I wanted in a short period of time, and I would move on to something else. And so starting this book last year, I really wanted to write this book. But as I started writing the book, I realized that it was going to be a lot bigger than I thought it was going to be. I, in my head, just thought it might be maybe 1 book. But as I started writing the book and realized how far along I was, I only had like 100,000. I had 100,000 words, and I was like only a third of the way through the story, because I kind of knew I don't outline, but I had a general sense of the progression, and I knew that I was only about a third of the way in. I was like, man, this is probably going to be like a trilogy's worth of content, and it turned out to be. And so, I was very excited when I started writing. It was, gung-ho, and I was just writing thousands and thousands and thousands of words, and they were just, they were coming very naturally. I was very excited about it. But as the months waned on, my desire to write the book waned as well. And I just didn't want to write it after a few months. I got really tired. The writing got harder and harder to do. I had to keep showing up to the page, and I just didn't want to write, and so I wouldn't. And I actually started distracting myself with other things, mostly YouTube, because I love YouTube, to kind of really not do it. And so I would tell myself, oh, I'll just take a break and come back to it. And then I wouldn't. Or I would kind of work on it, but it was like, maybe I'd get a couple hundred words and then I would just give up instead of pushing through it. And so essentially my point here is that I allowed my feelings to override what needed to be done, right? And I wanted to finish the story. Obviously I had the desire to do it, but my output was not matching my desire. And so, I kind of went back and forth about finishing. I was like, well, maybe I'll finish it later. I'll just give up. I'll do something else and finish it later. But I came to realize that I was doing that thing again. I was kind of in that cycle of, what, I know me. And if I put this away and, I give it some time, I'm not going to come back to it. I know me, and that's a flaw that I have. And so I actually have multiple books that I have started over the years that I have not finished. I started them, and then I would I would get tired of writing them, and I would just shelve them. The problem with that is that it just kind of reinforces that idea of not having to finish anything. Now I understand the struggle of starting things and being excited at first, but then not wanting to push through the difficult times or, the deserts or the dry spells. But the truth is that pushing through that for this book has actually helped me to grow quite a bit. Stephen King is one of the most prolific authors of all times. And he says, he has moments where the muse is striking and he writes magnificent prose and he's on fire. He's like, but most of the time it feels like he's shoveling crap from a sitting position, meaning he's just putting words on the page to progress the story. And so I want to share the 3 benefits that I received in doing this, because in January of this year, 2025, about halfway through, well, actually for my New Year's resolution, I wrote on a green card. I meant to bring it out to the garage, but on a green index card, I said, you know what? I'm not going to just do resolutions. I'm going to write my goals. There's a lot of research done and a lot of, gurus will talk about it, but writing your goals kind of helps make them tangible, right? If we just say a goal out in the open, it's like there's no weight to it. There's no gravity, or, you're not putting your skin in the game at all. So just, saying a goal is great, but having an actual written goal that you can kind of reflect on is really very actually beneficial, especially if you keep looking at that goal, because every time you look at it, you reinforce that thing every time you see it. And so this year at New Year's, I wrote down my goals, and one of the goals was to finish the book. I was like, I need to finish this book. I knew deep down that I had to prove it to myself that I could finish a long-term project of something that actually took real sacrifice. Not something I could do only when it felt easy to do, but something I could do where I was pushing through that thing, and then I finally would finish it. And so I was a couple weeks into January, and I was thinking that YouTube was going to be the thing that I was going to gravitate towards. But as I was working on these different YouTube channels, I was doing the same thing. I was just starting channels and working on this channel and trying to work on this channel and this. So I was working on all these channels at once, and I was getting nowhere, and I was getting super frustrated. And in the back of my mind, the whole time I'm thinking, that book's not done. The book's not done. I think over 100,000 words in, or maybe I was around 200,000. So I was pretty fairly in, by the time I stopped. But I stopped for a while, for probably a couple months, I think, or a month or so, because I was passively working on it, but I just, I wouldn't work on it every day. I didn't have a reason to kind of just push through. But a couple weeks into January, I finally just decided, screw it. I'm going all in on the book, and I'm going to finish this bad boy. I'm going to give up everything else. I'm going to set aside all projects, and I am going to push through, and I'm going to finish the stupid book, and I'm not going to do anything else until I finish it. And today, as of today, March 7, 2025, I have finished the book. 357,943 words. Now, I know that a lot of that's probably going to get edited out when I edit it. But it feels good. I feel great excellent, actually, for finishing something that I started 8 months ago and pushing through the difficult seasons to actually get it done. And setting that goal, writing it down, and knowing that I had something to kind of push me through really helped. So kind of that's actually the first thing that I was going to suggest that's actually not even on the list of the benefits, is writing the goals down helps you see that goal and make it real. So, you know, it gave me something to kind of come back to. Like every time I saw it, I was reinforced, no, I'm not working on anything else. This is it. And I'm just saying, like I've tried it before, but I never took it seriously. This actually helped a lot. All right, let me get to the 3 benefits. I know I'm probably, I don't know, 7 minutes in, 9 minutes or something. I don't know. I don't have my timer on it, but let's get into the actual benefits. I apologize. The first is that doing this has taught me discipline. You know, like I said, I have started projects, lots and lots of projects. My parents were very entrepreneurial, and so they actually started multiple businesses or side hustles over the years, and they would do it for like, they get super excited and stoked about an idea. Then they would start the side hustle or the business, do it for a few months. It wouldn't yield the results that they were looking for, and then they would just let it go and then start another one and another one and another one. And my mom was very creative, and she did the same thing with her art projects. She would, you know, start an art project, do it for a few months, get tired of it, move on to something else, move on to something else. And so growing up in that, you know, I kind of took those traits on, but also I think I just have maybe a natural tendency not to finish things. Maybe it's normal, maybe it's, you know, more common than I think, but ultimately I kind of grew up with that, where I would just start a bunch of projects and not really see any results because I kept starting them, and then when they got difficult or I didn't see those results that I wanted, I would just kind of give up and move on to something else. You know, I didn't push through it long enough to actually see long-term, you know, results and growth. And so doing this has taught me a lot of discipline. You know, every time I wanted to start a new project, you know, I would get the idea and be like, oh, okay. And I'd start watching videos about it or reading articles. And then as soon as I would like start considering, I'm like, no, I need to focus on the book, finish the book. And then I could start a new project, finish the book. And I just kept telling myself that, finish the book, finish the book, finish the book, finish the book. And I actually would tell my wife and other people about the book. I wouldn't tell them what was going on in it, but I kept telling them about it so that they would ask me how it was going. And that was actually reaffirming. Like, it was kind of like exciting, like, oh, I'm working on this book. And people get excited when you tell them you're working on a book, because even if they don't really read, they're excited to have known someone to write. And so telling people like, yeah, I'm working on this book, they would ask me like, oh, how's it coming? How's it going? I'd be like, oh, I'm making progress. And it felt good to make progress and tell them that progress. And so doing this and having that written goal and working towards it over and over and over and over and over and eschewing every other project has helped me learn discipline, but not just in the writing. You see, the Bible says that, you know, suffering creates perseverance, and perseverance creates character, something like that. I apologize if I butchered it. But essentially, you know, obviously writing a book is not really suffering, but in the way of, you know, actually pushing through those difficult parts and, you know, doing the part that you don't want to get to that result, the end result, really helped me, because now I look at other things in my life and I say, you know, am I focusing on short-term results, or am I really looking at this long-term? What is my long-term goal? It actually helped me with finances, because thinking about finances this way, I'm not just buying a bunch of small stuff, you know, to sate like an instant gratification. I'm thinking, okay, do I really need this, or should I save the money for something later on? You know, should I put it in savings, or should I, you know, invest it or give it away, or, you know, should I just put it away for a bigger purchase or something? It has actually helped me kind of change my view on other things, even, you know, things at work. Like, okay, it has helped me with things at work that I didn't even think about until just now. You see, normally at work, I would just push things off. Like, I'm a hard worker, but if there was something that I really didn't want to do, I could find a reason to push it off, right? And lately, in doing this kind of challenge with the book, where I'm like, no, I'm going to push through, it's actually helped me change my attitude at work too, because now there have been things that I knew I didn't want to do. Like, we had to change out this upright for these big racks at work. I really didn't want to do it. We had to go buy a new one. We had to bring it back to the shop. We had to unbolt the old one, take it down, take all the rack, like all the shelves down, you know, put the new one back up, put all the shelves back up, bolt it to the ground. We had to do all of that. And I really didn't want to do it, but that rack was bent, so we had to. And I was like, I remember one day this week, I was sitting at work and I'm like, you know what, we're going to do it. We're going to do it. I'm going to eat the frog, so to speak. And I'm going to get out there and we're just going to go take that rack down. And then we're going to go get the rack whenever we get a chance. We're going to bring it back and we're going to put the new one up. And everyone on my team, you know, they were just like, okay. And we did, and we got it done. And it was something I really didn't want to do, but we did it. No, you know what? It needs to get done. I'm not going to push this off any longer. So it has really helped me with the discipline. But going into the money aspect, which is the second thing, it's actually saved me money. So talking about my parents being creative and entrepreneurial, it was more my stepdad was entrepreneurial, my mom was creative. And so, you know, they kind of mesh those sometimes. And so I've done the same thing. I've always tried to turn things into like a side hustle. But I have invested so much money over the years, thousands of dollars, into different projects to start to in turn make money, if that makes sense. You know, the art stuff, the paintings, I spent thousands of dollars on supplies trying to make the paintings and then later on sell them, and they didn't sell, so I wasted the money. Now, maybe if I pushed it a little more, I could have made some of that money back. But eventually those finances came, you know, caught up to me and I had to go back to work. But, you know, I've started so many projects that I had to put money into to learn about or to, you know, get supplies or, you know, whatever. And then I wouldn't see the results. And then I would just start something else and start something else and start something else because I didn't want to go through those difficult periods. I didn't want to put in the long-term, you know, time and effort to see those results. And so because I wasn't seeing that, I just kept wasting time and money. And in doing this and not starting any more projects, I've spent $60, I think, over the last 2 months on projects, but it's only because I paid for things and then set them aside, but I didn't start them. I only locked in like you know, if they were on sale, I locked them in, but I set them aside. I have not started a single one of them. I've put them aside, and that is actually my next goal, is to start that project because I had already invested the money. So it saved me money by not, you know, chasing after every shiny object, by, you know, not chasing after every next, you know, great thing, the next big thing, the next, you know, catchy, shiny, I don't know, important sounding thing. Not chasing the next thing has helped me just focus on what I'm working on and finishing it. And I feel great about it. I've saved money and I've made progress. It's a win-win. But the third thing that I have learned out of this whole thing that has probably been the most beneficial is that progress is in of itself its own reward. Just making the progress on this book and seeing the page numbers go up has been a reward in and of itself. You know, I'm not going to say that, you know, you should do that to just get the numbers up, but in seeing that visual progress kind of, you know, over time, I'm proud. I'm proud of the fact that I finished the book. Even if the book doesn't go to publication, I did it. And so I have learned that, you know, all this time I've been chasing these certain results that I thought were going to make me happy, or I thought that this thing was the thing that, you know, if I just found the right thing, I would be happy and I would want to do it all the time. No, everything that I've ever tried, there are parts of it that I don't like. But guess what? You just pick a thing that you mostly like and you just go with the thing. And then you deal with those rough spots when you get to them and you persevere. You know, again, I'm not going to say that I'm perfect and I've learned it and now I will never falter. But I'm just telling you for your own experience, if you struggle with that, if you struggle with finishing projects, if you struggle with starting something but not pushing through to see a long-term result, I get it. I am that guy. You know, I'm not speaking from, you know, a soapbox, or I'm not, you know, speaking down to people. I'm the guy. So anyway, I guess all of this to say, kind of the takeaway, first off, to write the goals. If you don't have goals, then you're really not going after anything. You know, you're just kind of drifting. But if you have goals, especially written ones, you can see that and you just keep looking at it day after day. I know that, you know, Napoleon Hill in his Think and Grow Rich, he talks about writing down your goals and looking at them every day. I really don't like that guy. And I think the book is like overrated. There is some stuff to learn from it, but that right there is a good, you know, good takeaway. Writing down a goal and then kind of just looking at it over and over again, so that it kind of supplants, it actually was beneficial. But the other thing is just to encourage people, like, listen, if you struggle with not finishing projects, I get it. But you've got to learn that the end result of finishing the project should be that, you know, should be the reward. You should not focus on seeing, you know, maybe financial success or, you know, seeing some kind of, you know, specific success as far as what it should bring you. Now, if it's for a business, yes, obviously, if those kinds of goals. But if it's just projects that you're doing for yourself, just finish it. Like, even if it's bad, even if you don't like the end result, even if, you know, it's the most terrible thing you ever did, just finish it. You will feel so much better about having completed projects that maybe aren't the best, they're not perfect, but you're done. I feel so good about the book. I don't care at this point. If in the beginning, I wanted the book to go to publication. I wanted it to, you know, I wanted it to be my magnum opus. And, you know, I write this really big book, or, you know, 3 books if you chop it up. And that is like the thing that people remember me for. Initially, you know, I had that inkling. Now I'm like, I don't even care if it goes to publication because I did it. You know, it wasn't just a pipe dream. It's real. Like, the book is done. Yeah, it probably has to get edited to heck and back, but it's done, baby. It's done, and I am so stoked. So ultimately, that's it. I guess stop trading short-term, you know, feelings for long-term results. And yeah, I don't know what else to say. I really don't, but I just encourage you to, you know, maybe consider some of the stuff I talked about. I don't really know where I'm going with this, so I'm going to go ahead and edit. But I thank you for watching. I hope this reached somebody, and I will see you guys in the next one. Take care. God bless. Bye.